Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like, and the problem I have here is very unique. So this is the Waltham Pocket watch I had been working on, was running perfectly like this, and the second I flipped it around I could see the second hand burping. I can see if I can try to recreate that for you, but the second hand was burping, or the second hand was burping. So I'm just going to screw in the balance cock here. I just put this in place. So everything seems to work well here. Now if I look at the configuration here, the jewel, or the impulse jewel, is meeting the pallet fork opening, the mouth of the pallet fork. And there's no issue, because if there's any end shake here, not side shake but end shake, then that end shake would ensure that the balance is seated downward more and there's a good interface between the pallet fork and that jewel. But when you flip that around, see if I can do this and see if the problem repeats itself. I'm going to wind this up a little tiny bit more. Give it a little bit of juice, as they say. There we go. Runs nicely. If I turn it like this, what do I get? Keep an eye on the seconds hand here and see if it burps. Now I could sing a song while you're waiting for the burp. And sing Better Burp. Come on, burp. I know you're going to do it. I know you're going to burp. You look fine right now, but the second that thing burps, we'll know what the problem is. Come on. Burp. Burp, 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 burp. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Burp. No burp yet. I could wait a week for this thing to burp. Come on. I'll just place it down a little harder. See if that burps. Oh, there's the burp. Did you see that? Just about 57 seconds it burped, which means it still has the burp. Now it should burp again in a few seconds here. It doesn't always burp though. That's the issue I have. I'm going to check the interface between the impulse jewel and the mouth of the pallet fork and see if that is the issue. It could be the issue. But you saw the burp. The burp happened. What I'm thinking is that the tip of the impulse jewel, it's got a little tiny bit of a gouge in the tip, just ever so small. But that little gouge may be causing the interface issue with the pallet fork mouth. See, it's not burping now, but it did burp at 57 seconds. So it doesn't seem to be a gear issue. If it was a gear issue, it would be pretty constant and you could pretty well predict it's going to burp. If I drop that down again like that, is it going to burp again? Who knows? Come on. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. What stories can I tell you today while we're waiting for this thing to burp? Come on. Oh, there it is. So it just burped. If you reverse the film, you'll see it burped at around 28 seconds. And now I'm just going to take the power off the watch, because I know it's burping, and check the interface between the pallet fork and the jewel. I want to see how deep the impulse jewel goes into the mouth of the pallet fork, because the solution might be me actually re-shellacking the jewel of the impulse jewel back into the roller table. All right, let's strip her down a bit. So the technique I use to take the power off the watch is I get a bench key like this, stick that in, put my finger here, because when I torque it this way, it wants to twist this way. So I put my finger in there, and then I just get the ratchet out of the way, or the click out of the way, like that. and then let this thing go down. So that's one technique of doing it. The other technique is actually putting it into the movement holder and doing it that way. It's probably a safer way of doing it. So let's just throw this into the movement holder and make sure that the winding mechanism is in the right place. So I always want to keep the seconds hand. And this beautiful Myers number 58 movement holder ensures that the second hand can sweep through without touching anything. And right now it's kind of in the opening anyway, but if I put it into the Myers number 58 movement holder, I got some control over this. And now I can push this in like this, turn it ever so slightly, use my tweezers. These are brass tweezers so they don't mar anything. And then just take the power down on the watch. Just kind of walk it back. Nice and easy. So now the power is down. Now you see how that just sort of held like it's stuck. So I want to look inside there and see what's causing that to stick. Right, because I saw that bumping right there, and I just want to have a look inside and see what's causing that. So I'm going to take the crystal off, or not the crystal, the face off the watch, because I believe that I need to open up the mouth and the banking pin just a bit more, and that might resolve the issue. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm going to try this and see what happens. So I need to take the face off in order to adjust the banking pin. After that's adjusted, so what's happening is that the banking pin, I believe, is not open enough, and which might be causing the problem. It could in fact be one of the pallet jewels that's the issue, but I'm not absolutely sure. But I'm going to just slightly adjust that banking pin. If it's one of the pallet jewels that's too deep perhaps, then that's another issue. But I'm going to take the face off anyway because I'm going to have to work on this to see what the heck is going on. And I have to leave in a few minutes because I have a meeting, a lunch meeting with somebody. Come on. I gotta hate when it drops back in. Stop it. You always grab one of the three legs and then the other one drops back in. Now just to get everything out of the way here. If I don't do this, it's going to fall out of the way anyway. I can still watch the action of the pallet fork and such. So there are the banking pins. So it's this side that I want to move outward more, right? So I want to rotate that this way, which would be on this side. It would be this way, which would be clockwise. So it would be this one right here, ever so slightly clockwise. So I'm going to just see if I can get down dirty here and do that. And pick the right screwdriver, get the white one here. There, that is moved ever so slightly. You can see it's still vibrating here. It's only because the pallet fork is not snapping all the way back. So it could be the depth of the jewel as well. So I'm going to leave it like this, and then I'll be back at this soon. And I can see one of my jewels for my, or my screws for the face has come out. So let me just put these ones back in so I don't lose them. So remember, how do you become a millionaire fixing watches? You start as a billionaire. That is the theory behind watch repair. Because you get into these situations here where you're fine-tuning and the watch is not running the way it used to. And this might be a lock-on-lock with the pallet fork jewels. It's causing this issue, which means I may want to adjust those and re-shellac them. I don't have a jig for those, but so it's going to be a game of chasing the problem. So we'll just see how well I can chase the problem. But for now, I've moved the banking pin out, which should allow the pallet fork to move over more and stay over there. So it's not going to go back a bit, because what it was doing is going back a bit. But the only reason it would go back a bit is if the banking pin was too tight, or the jewel, one of the jewels in the pallet fork was off a bit. So we'll address that after I come back. Alright, so the fix I did for this was I widened the banking pin ever so slightly on the left hand side, and it seems to have corrected the burping. If you recall, the second hand would actually go backwards, burp, and then go forward. So by doing that, the arm of the pallet fork would go farther and allow for the impulse jewel, to enter the pallet fork mouth and then swing the other way. So I think that has fixed the problem. It's the simplest of the fixes. I don't think it was the depth of the impulse jewel. And remembering that this was only happening when the watch was in this position. So I thought maybe it is the depth of the impulse jewel, but it looks like it's working now, so it wasn't the depth of the impulse jewel. It's a strange problem. I don't think I've ever, in 20 years of watch repair, I don't think I've ever had this issue before. So we'll just let this thing run overnight and see if we're getting decent time on it. I will case the watch, and then I'll let it run overnight and see if it runs well. So that's pretty much the story as she goes. So let me just move this over here, and we'll make ourselves a nice video.